All right, we'll go ahead and get started. It's Chris Berry, certified financial planner, certified law attorney with Castle Wealth Group, and we do these weekly wisdom webinars where I answer questions submitted or cover topics that are going on. So if you do have a specific legal, financial, or tax planning question, feel free to put it in the Q&A, and I'll go ahead and take a shot at answering it live. So I did have a question submitted, but there was one thing. And before I start, I always go over positive focus. I coach my daughter in soccer. She won both of her soccer games this weekend, so that was pretty exciting. So I'll take that. And all right. So again, if you do have a legal, financial, tax planning question, feel free to put it in the Q&A. But one thing that I was going to talk about first and share a couple slides, and this is out of a PowerPoint. Excuse me, I can sneeze. Sorry. Um, was talking about like all the tariff talk and obviously everything that's going on. We're doing a lot of client reviews with right now, and the big concern is the market volatility. Like year to date, the market as of today, we're down about 9%. And if you look at when this drop started, um, it started April 2nd. So it's directly related to all of the tariffs. And so there's different ways to look at this. But what I want to do is share a couple slides um, for a presentation. And actually, we're talking about this tonight at one of our workshops. So talk about tariffs and market volatility. Obviously, all this tariff talk has had a dramatic effect on a lot of things potentially. So stock market volatility, and this slide was put together a little while ago, so it's a little bit out of date. But the big thing is making sure that you're really willing to take on the amount of risk that you say you are. And we'll talk a little bit about that. But also with the tariffs, there's a potential cost and living adjustment. So inflation, things are going to cost a little bit more potentially. Social Security will probably go up because it's based off of cost of living. So if cost of living does adjust, understand that maybe next year we'll see a bigger cost of living adjustment, which typically has been about 2.6%. And then with that, with inflation, there might be more tax to Social Security. Though one of the things Trump has ran on is getting rid of Social Security tax. So we'll see if that goes up or what happens there. And then healthcare costs. So with all the tariffs, the cost of everything coming into the country potentially could be more. So healthcare costs could go up. So really, it's what can you do about it? So one is looking at your investments, figuring out if we're comfortable with the amount of risk we're covering. Um, Make sure we have an income plan in retirement. So understand that inflation should be built into your income plan. Look at if you haven't claimed Social Security, when is the best time to claim Social Security? Look at taxes. So if taxes go up, maybe consider moving more money out of those pre-tax accounts. And then also with your healthcare costs, understand there may be more healthcare costs. So having a review of those potential Medicare premiums. And then really focusing on the market volatility and why this is so important is that it can have a dramatic effect on your retirement. And it's really just when you retire and how the market's performed during that time. So what this slide's illustrating is, let's say we have Steve, he retired in 2010 versus Bill retired in 2000. Both have the same IRA balance of $500,000. And let's say they invest in the same exact thing, the S&P 500. But if you look at now that they're both in what we call retirement, where they are in a preservation, really a distribution phase. Now they have to take money out of these accounts. So let's assume they have to take out 30,000 a year. Well, if you look at Steve's situation with a good market return and good years right in the beginning, he's left with a much bigger nest egg because even though he's taking money out, the markets are still staying relatively the same or going up. Versus Bill, who retired in 2000, there's a couple bad years there right in the beginning. That has a dramatic effect on his retirement. So the big thing is as you get older, as you get closer to retirement, we need to be more cognizant about how we have things invested. If we're 30, then we have a long time horizon. But if we're near retirement, then we need to be we need to pay attention more to how we have things invested, maybe look at more conservative investments. And so we're talking about market volatility. So what is market volatility? It's when the markets make dramatic moves one way or the other. And you see a lot of terms thrown around, but typically what we're talking about is a market pullback, is it a correction, or is it a bear market? And if you look historically, we haven't had a ton of bear markets, but typically about once per year, once every 2 years, we're going to have some type of pullback or correction. And really, right now, year to date, as of right this second, and again, this could change like in a moment, but right this second, we're down about 9.2%. So right now, we're hovering between a pullback versus a correction. So the question is this short term or is it long term? That's the question no one really knows, but we look at the downturn, it was caused specifically by a reaction to those tariffs. And if we look historically, there's been 38 market corrections since 1950. So again, that's a drop of 10 to 19%. And it's not saying it's down 10% or 19% the whole year. It's just we've had those drops. And typically we have a correction every 2 years. And there's been 14 bear markets roughly through 1947 to 2022. So understand we have had an upswing the last couple of years, and just historically, we should have some type of correction because they happen every couple of years. So what can trigger this market volatility? So profit selling, corporate earnings, technical analysis, fear, which is kind of where we're at now, black swan events, things like the pandemic. And really, this is just due to the talk of tariffs. You can match it up directly to when the market's dropped. But again, if we zoom out, even though we do have these big drops, the market typically goes up. But where we run into problems is if we have to start selling off, especially if we're in retirement. So that's why it's important to put your portfolios in a way that we have short-term buckets and long-term buckets. And understand market timing, sometimes it works, but understand you have to be right twice. You have to sell at the right time and buy at the right time. So we're not really advocating trying to time the market perfectly. We're advocating for putting together a portfolio that's going to weather the storms. And really, there's 5 things to think about. Be patient. So don't overthink it. Don't act emotionally. Remain diversified. And always, we can review your situation. What we do is we figure out how much risk you're willing to take on in your portfolio. And think of these risk numbers as like speed limits. Like the lower the speed limit, the more conservative the portfolio. The higher the speed limit, the more aggressive the portfolio. So a 70 risk score would be an aggressive portfolio. Think of that going fast down the highway. You're going to get there quick, but it might be a chance to wipe out. Or 25 is going safe and slow in a school zone. So one of the things we can do is we can take a look at how much risk you currently have in your portfolio, and then we can couple that with how much risk are you willing to take on. And really, that's the big thing that we've been having conversations with our clients about, is just understanding, hey, we can all say we're aggressive when the markets are going up, but when the markets are going down, are you still that aggressive portfolio? And now is maybe a time to revisit that. So hopefully that was helpful. I just wanted to touch base on like what's going on right now, all the tariff talk, all the market volatility. So a couple of questions came in. So here's a question. What is the limit on gift money each year versus lifetime? So we talk about this a lot in our workshops, gift taxes. So this year, everyone is allowed to make an annual gift to as many people as they want of $19,000. So everyone on this webinar, I could gift $19,000 gift tax free. No tax to you, no tax to me. I don't even have to fill out a gift tax form. Now, if I were to give someone on this call $1 million, which I'm not, question is, would they have to pay any tax? The answer is no. The person receiving the gift never has to pay a tax. Would I have to pay a tax? The answer is not right now, because in addition to your annual gift tax exclusion, you have a lifetime gift tax exclusion that's tied to the estate tax. It's called the unified credit. And the way it works is if I were to give someone $1 million, I would have to fill out a gift tax form to notify the IRS I'm cutting into my $28 million unified credit, which means when my wife and I pass away, instead of us leaving $28 million tax-free, we can only leave $27 million. So for a majority of people, unless you have between 14 million for a single individual, 28 million for a married couple, you're not going to pay any tax, whether it's a gift tax or a state tax. So with regards to the gift tax, is that 19,000 per person or in total? So I can give $19,000 to as many people as I want. So it's not a total. So if there's 22 people on the webinar right now, I can give $19,000 to each one of those 22 people, zero gift taxes. Now, if I were to give more than that, all I have to do is fill out a gift tax form to notify the IRS I'm cutting into my lifetime exemption, which is tied to the estate tax of $28 million. So really, for a majority of people, you're never going to pay a gift tax. And a lot of people get worked up about it and worry about it. But worst case, you fill out a gift tax form and you just cut into your lifetime exemption. Now, that said, I'm not a big fan of gifting for two reasons. One, when you gift, you give up control. And I always want my clients in control. Second reason why I don't like gifting, and someone kind of asked this question, is does gifting affect the Medicaid look back period, right? So understand we have this program called Medicaid, which will pay for nursing home care. But to qualify for Medicaid, a single individual can only have $9,000 worth of countable assets. A married couple with one spouse in the nursing home, one spouse in the community can only have at most $150,000. And then Medicaid looks back 5 years to see if you moved any money around. And if you have, they're going to penalize you. So understand you have a gift tax exemption. There is no Medicaid gift exemption. So too often I've seen families try this themselves or talk to a friend or go online. Now mom's gifting $10,000 to all the kids and the grandkids, suffers a stroke, goes into a nursing home, wants to qualify for Medicaid, but she's not going to receive any Medicaid benefits until whoever she gave that money to gives the money back. And typically the kids and grandkids don't have the money to get back. So yeah, gift taxes, excuse me, really aren't a concern, but Medicaid and that Medicaid look back period for nursing home care, that is a concern. And that's where I would be very careful with those gifts. So, all right. Then there's another question I had submitted ahead of time. Hold on, let me just kind of came in. Let me copy this and then I'll share it. A little bit of a longer question. Let me put it in this whiteboard here. New whiteboard. And all right, you should be able to see it. Let me put it in the text box. And so here's the question. So my mother and father have a revocable living trust. My mom is having some memory issues and caring for her in Michigan. My dad lives in Maryland, where the trust was originated. Because of the misuse by my father with my mom's funds, the financial institution recommends opening a bank account in Michigan, so my father's not on the account. I'm a co-signer on the bank. I'm wondering, what is the risk for my parents' Medicare expenses given my name is on the account? Is not part of the trust funding list. Yep. Okay. So really what the question here is two things, or what's going on. We have dad still in Maryland, mom is in Michigan. There's been some misuse of the funds, it sounds like, by dad. So now we want to open an account just in mom's name so that dad can't access that. And the concern is if a son or daughter is drawing on mom's account, what does that open up in terms of liability? So typically, I'm not a huge fan of joint accounts because if we have mom and then son is now joint on that account, if son gets a divorce, lawsuit, creditor action, bankruptcy, mom loses that account. So by naming someone joint, you're opening yourself up to the liabilities of that person. Now, for the son who is added joint to the account, you're not liable for any of mom's like expenses or anything. The only way you would ever be liable would be if you co-sign for something. So if you were to co-sign a loan, you would be liable. If you were to co-sign because mom's entering an assisted living and you co-sign as a payer, you would be liable. But if you're just joint on mom's account, you're not liable for any of her expenses, any of her liabilities. But the flip side is mom is now liable for any types of divorce, lawsuits, creditor action, bankruptcy that you may have. But you're not liable for anything for mom. Worst case, if mom were to need nursing home care and spend down her money, she would spend on that account, but that has zero effect on you. So you being the person named joint, really there's no downside to you. You're not accepting any of mom's liabilities or anything like that. It's just opening up some liabilities for mom. Typically, what we recommend is you have like a transfer on death. So if mom passes away, it goes to either the trust or the kids. And then in terms of using the account while mom's alive, that's where a well-drafted financial power of attorney would come into play. So you don't have to worry about liability either way. But by you adding your name joint to mom's account, you're not opening yourself to any other forms of liability. So you wouldn't have to worry about that. So, all right. That is all I have. So with that, thank you, everyone. Make it a great week. Take